Okadi here. Today we're going to be going over our Oracle Dragon build. This is a nice, low button, fast, easy, tanky, blasty, very, very solid build. It's one of my favorite builds this season. So let's take a look at some bossing and some mapping. And then I missed the power charge. All right, Exiles, the showcase is over. Let's go over details and the POB. But remember, if you enjoy my builds, like, subscribe, give a comment down below about your favorite part of the build. The engagement is what lets us continue to drop builds every season. Thank you all. All right, as promised, I am going to do a low budget version of the build. So we've got shopping put together. We're going to spend one div on everything. Move our old items over in here real quick. And we have one divine orb. What is this one divine orb bringing us here? We have 304 exalted orbs to work with.
I'll post it right away.
There's all of our exalted orbs. Now, first thing we're going to do is go through and Bayter's Vengeance, Aelith's Chimes, Brutus Brain, and Uruk's Smelting are going to have to be accounted for. So Brutus Brain is 17, 18. Aelith's Chimes Ooh, it's 31. Uruk's smelting is 9. We don't need Uruk's smelting. We can use regular armor break. And Bater's Vengeance is 1. So that'll be 49 Exalted Orbs right out of the gate. Those get spent on our support gems, on our... I'm sure I have an armor breaker gem in here already. Guess it's not armor breaker, just armor break. So instead of Uruk smelting, I'm an armor break, armor demolisher. Instead of Uruk smelting, we'll just run armor demolisher. It doesn't impact the build at all. It's not going to let me socket that in because I don't have the attributes for it. We'll fix attributes once we have gear together. So, 49 Exalted Orbs out of the way for our Lineage support gems. That is Brutus Brain, Aelith Chimes, Bater's Vengeance. Those are requirements for the build, so we'll utilize those. The rest of our support gems are all just regular support gems. We're 4 socketing Pounce, Flame Breath, and Herald of Ice, because the assumption is that we're not spending the budget on perfect Exalted Orbs, perfect Jewel Orbs, but the greater Jewel Orbs are basically free. Everyone should have those by now. So, what do we have left here? 241... 241. Oh. 304 minus 49. It's 255. Got mixed up with inventory currency. There we go. That's what we have left to spend on it. So, first things first. Oh, we need a talisman. I have a search here for a talisman. We'll set our budget to 50 Exalted Orbs. There's 3 of them at this price right now. We'll open up our search to 550 damage per second. That puts it up to 17 available right now. There will be more available at any given time, but we have to gamble craft on a talisman. What that means is that we have to, first off, we cannot do a corrupted talisman, or a sanctified one for that matter, because we need extra damage adds. Our search is basically set up for, we want a 550 DPS talisman with level of attack skills. The attack skills level is very important because it affects Rend and Flame Breath. Melee does not. And then we're looking for just generic damage talismans. We don't want a Fizz talisman like this one. Because for this one, for this talisman, if it ripped off the Fizz damage, then this one's actually okay. This would be okay, but only because this is T2 Lightning. If it ripped off this Fizz or it ripped off this Fizz, it doesn't break the talisman because the Lightning can help carry. It's a 577 base damage talisman, so that's okay. It's got Onslaught, which is good. This is a good choice. This one has Fizz, Fire, and Cold. If it ripped off the Fire, this would be a very bad talisman because both the Cold is P6 and Flat Fizz is less beneficial. And so we're just kind of eyeballing the talismans. Like this one is Fizz, Fire, and the Hybrid Fizz. This one is okay. If it ripped off this Fizz, Hybrid Fizz still scales the base a little bit. If it ripped off the Flat Fire, then you still got a little bit of Fizz percentage and some Fizz sockets, so that's okay. Basically, just you don't want it to be heavily reliant on one affix. Like, you don't want to buy a talisman that is T1 lightning, T6 cold, T6 fire. Because then if it rips the T1 lightning off when we essence it, the talisman is dead. So all of these look like they would be good potential talismans. Now we look at the suffixes and see if we can get one with good suffixes. Onslaught, great suffix. Attack speed is already accounted for in the DPS, but this is pretty high DPS, so that's a good suffix. Dead suffixes here. I mean, it's got attack speed, but it's a lower DPS, so this one doesn't have good suffixes. Fissures, doesn't matter. Stun, that's terrible suffixes. Reduced and Leech, terrible suffixes. Strength is a good suffix. But man, it looks like this Thunder Talisman is solid choice. Magnitude of Shock is nice. And then when we essence this, it's not dead. It's also the cheapest one. So that's very convenient. We'll take this talisman. Works out very nicely. And the first thing we're going to have to do is buy a perfect abrasion essence. This is 29 exalted orbs, so about the same price as the talisman, but this is a requirement for our build to function because of the interaction with Herald of Ice, Armor Demolisher, Armor Explosion, and Armor Break. We need Armor Explosion to have extra as Fizz so that the Armor Explosion can then break armor around everything, and then the Armor Explosion itself can do extra cold as from Vader's Vengeance, which can chill. And so that allows our chain. So we're going to hit this. I don't know what I want it to rip. I think everything is good. Whenever you do this, make sure suffixes are full and prefixes are full, so that when you hit this, it's going to replace a prefix. Currently, it is a 577 DPS. Now it is a 467. Looks like it ripped Flat Fizz off, which is probably the ideal for this amulet. Now, since it ripped off Flat Fizz, we may be better off with lightning damage sockets on it instead, or cold damage sockets on it. But we'll leave it alone right now. This is good. Now we do need to make a small change to our tree here. We've got too much strength, not enough int. That's because we're just left over from the previous build. You need enough int to equip things. Alright. We are going to need some strength and some more int, so we are going to have to be wary of that. We do need some additional stats on our gear. So as we're buying our gear, we'll definitely keep an eye out for additional stats, because we just need some stats. It doesn't matter what it is, because we can move it around with our passive. Next things up is our Crown of Eyes. Now, Crown of Eyes comes with all attributes. It's very convenient because we're going to need all attributes. So that should help out a little bit. We'll look for one that has at least 14 all attributes. That would be very handy. 10x, it's a little bit higher than what we want to spend, but this one's solid. It's 160 energy shield, which is a decent roll on the item. It's got some quality before it was YOLO corrupted by someone. It's got some chaos res on, or some cold res on already. That's something we need to kind of be aware of, because we're going to be shopping around a ring at the end of the build to fill in our reses, and that helps us, but we can change that if we need to. So we've got our talisman and we've got our helmet. Next things up is going to be our body armor. Now, body armor, we're going to want a minimum of 60 spirit between our amulet and our body armor. So we just set our search at 30 because the amulet has a lot more stuff on it that we can use. And so we want like the body armor to make sure to carry a minimum of half of our needed. We have our budget set to 30. We have a weighted sum looking for int, energy shield recharge, and elemental resistance. We're going to put a little bit more weight towards int because we know we're going to need a little bit of stats. If we can get it on our body armor, that would be ideal. We have a minimum 500 energy shield set just because that seems like a good minimum to have. Now right off the top, we got an int life regen, which we need, but it's easier to get this on a belt. So let's sort by our sum and just find something that has a good sum. So Not a big difference here. This one has some int and a little bit more faster start, so the some sort really doesn't matter too much to us. Well, maybe. We'll set our minimum sum to 100. Okay, int looks good. We're going to sort by energy shield now. We'll get the highest ES1 that we can get. This one has int on it. Happens to have lightning res. That's really good. Happens to have a faster start of energy shield on it. Happens to have a faster start of energy shield on the body armor itself. That's a great piece of armor for us. So we're going to grab that one for 30 exalted orbs. It's a good buy. We're obviously going to need some more int to equip that. And we are going to cheat a little bit. This is I always have an amulet on standby that has stats on it. Just an Astramentus is nice to have. You can use it to equip stuff that has the stat on it that you're trying to equip. Because then when you start moving things around, like it says you need 33 more int, well, we don't actually, because some of that int will be coming from the body armor. You can see one tick will now allow us to equip the body armor because the body armor's int is carrying itself. You just need something else with the intelligence to let you equip it first, because GGT is dumb and they can't fix that. Next thing up is our amulet. Now we don't spend a whole lot on our amulet. Our body armor, however, carried 39 spirit, so we only need 21 more spirit to make this work. And so we'll sort by that, and then we'll sort by sum. You'll see we have a weighted sum here with max energy shield, increased max energy shield, both strength and elemental resistance here. Set a 50 exalted orb budget on this one, because a good amulet is nice to have, but we don't want to spend all of our money. And so, looks like sum's around 270. Here we go. 10 exalted orbs. It's got more than enough spirit. It's got all the attributes, which is going to be very comfy. It's got lightning res on it. It's got life regen on it, which we don't need, but it's not bad. But it's got max energy shield and flat energy shield. That's just a great amulet. It's already been catalyzed, so we don't have to catalyze it. And only 10 exalted orbs puts it firmly in our budget. You see our ES is already growing here. We're up to 3578. We have, we don't have the tragedy jewel on this character, and so we don't really want to take Zealot's Oath because we can't afford the tragedy jewel. So we're going to have to move, like these are decent nodes, but they're not going to be a good fit for us. We're going to pull those damage nodes off and get rid of Zealot's Oath because we do want to make sure that we can energy shield recharge. And then we'll just move these nodes over to some flat ES because flat ES is always good to have. And we have 2 points on our weapon swap 3 or weapon swap 2. And we'll just use that to take some little increased damages here. Those will be a good use for those bonus points right there. Now, back to our shop in here. We have our amulet. Now we need a Polcirkeln, however we pronounce it. We just want a good one. Good res, good strength, good cold damage. We need all the stats, and so we'll just take one. This is 1 exalted orb. Very easy to get a hold of. Now our second ring we're going to buy last, because we want to use that to fill in holes in our build. On our belt, we're going to make sure that we don't need lightning res as much, so we might either want to avoid a lightning res item or make sure that it caps us. It's so close, but we'll probably avoid lightning res. We'll stick with fire and cold. Now on our belt, we're just looking for a good total res and life regeneration per second. We need life regen per second to counteract Berserk inside our CI, which we talked about in the high budget video. We'll talk about it a little bit more later as well. So fire and cold res right here. Really, we don't care about anything else on the belt. Actually, I lie. Lies and manipulations. we probably want to make sure that we have our charm slots. That's going to push our budget up a little bit. This is fine. This is a good belt. 15x is probably a little bit more than we wanted to spend on the belt, but it hits the ooh, it's got lightning res. Nope. It's got lightning res on it. We're going to move our elemental res limits down. Here we go. Fire and lightning, cold and lightning, cold and lightning, fire and lightning, cold and lightning, cold and lightning, cold and lightning, cold and lightning, fire and lightning, fire and cold. Down the list we go. This one has all the things that we need on it. Next up is going to be our gloves. On our gloves, we're just looking for ES, attack speed, and a little bit of elemental res. If we can get on here some int, that would be awesome. We'll set our max budget on the gloves at maybe 30 exalted orbs. There is one with int on it. That's good. It's got good rolls. I think that's solid. It's a great glove. It's got cold res. We need a little bit of cold res. Now we're looking for booties. Set our max budget on booties to like 50x for right now. On our boots, we're looking for move speed and a lot of res. Now again, if it can have some int on it, that's great again. If we're over capped on our stats, that's all right, but we don't ever want to be we don't want to be put in a position where we cannot get our stats. This is a lot of fire, a little bit of lightning. We need a lot of fire. It's got a little bit of lightning on it. We need a little bit of lightning. It's got int on it, which is really good. It's a good energy shield, and it's 15 exalted orbs. We're going to lock that to all of our weapon slots. Now, the next thing we want to shop for is our jewels. We want to make sure that we have good jewels. We need 5 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're looking for spell damage, elemental damage, skill speed while shapeshifted, increased cold damage, which we weigh in a little bit less. It's really good because it helps us freeze more, but it's not as strong as spell or elemental damage. And then obviously increased max energy shield would be very, very nice to have. But we're probably not going to find any of those. Those are more expensive jewels. Finally, we do want gain additional stun threshold equal to maximum energy shield. Very important that you have that. Otherwise, you will get small stun to light stun out of your flame breath. That's very annoying. We'll sort this by sum, and then we'll just start buying. These are all set at a budget of 5x a piece. They're probably all going to be the same, and they're going to have one good roll, one small roll, and then one absolute trash roll. There's 36 of these available right now. Obviously, if these all run out, you just either increase your budget a little bit or lower your requirements a little bit. Damage penetrates cold res. Could be handy. Penetration in PoE2 is kind of a trash stat because of the way they have done penetration. You cannot penetrate below 0% res, but most things don't have any resistances anyway, except for bosses. And then on bosses, you're going to want a major source of elemental damage control or reduction anyway, and those are not going to be as useful to you anymore. But every once in a while it comes up. Some rares have some resistances, things like that. All right, we have all of our jewels. We have our passive tree set up, which we'll go over later. And we have all of our gear except for our final ring slot. Now, our final ring slot has to carry just a little bit of res. We need like 12% cold, 13% lightning, and 45% fire. So we come to our ring setup right here, and we'll go 50 fire just to overshoot it a little bit, 20 cold, 20 lightning to overshoot it a little bit. And then we're looking for flat damage to attacks or increased damage to attacks, things like that. Now, there's 30 rings that fit that criteria. we have quite a bit of Exalted Orbs left and nothing left to spend it on. So we can get a moderately decent ring here. 20, 40, 60, 80, 92. I'm going to sort by sum. And there's a 71 right there. It's got cold damage, which is great. Will help us freeze more. This one is fire damage. This would be better single target. This one has int on it. This one also has int on it. If there were a cold, we would want that, but I don't see a cold anywhere. So we'll take this 70x one here with big fire damage, increased cold damage, int, and all the resistances that we need. Poor guy had this listed a month ago. He's finally selling it. He's going to wake up excited. Alright, so got 22 Exalted Orbs yet, and our character is all put together here. We have Berserk, Eternal Rage, Herald of Ice, all of those active. We have 24 remaining spirits, so we're going to fill that last remaining spirit with a Mysticism because we can utilize Mysticism 1. Which we don't have. We'll get one. Mysticism gives increased spell damage, which we convert with our helmet over to attack damage, while we have full energy shield, which we should have a lot of the time. Now, we've only got 5,300 energy shield, so not a huge layer of defenses, but enough to get by, especially on a low budget. We have 1k per second with a 1.5 second energy shield recharge delay. So all we have to do is be out of combat for 1.5 seconds to scale our energy shield back to full very, very rapidly. Now, our low energy shield primarily comes from less ES on all of our gear here, as well as lower ES on our amulet. We can look again at our amulet search. I did leave one thing out, which was global defenses, which we probably should have left in there. And that'll be in the updated search, but of course there was not a better one with global defenses on there anyway. We could gamble craft, because we need spirit anyway, so it's fine. This is a good amulet. We have our life regen that we need from 2 different places, so we're secure there. We've got all of our resistances that we need. We are chaos immune, so we don't have to worry about that. We probably would want a little bit more than 5.3k ES, ideally. But we have an Anoint. We have 22 Exalted Orbs. Is there a cheap enough Anoint? Melding is Guilt, Envy, Suffering. That's a no-go. Guilt, Disgust, Fear. Probably not very cheap. We can't Anoint in here. Suffering, Chrono, Suffering. Yeah, all these things are so expensive. Anything with ES on it is going to be out of our budget. And so we'll save our Anoint for later. Probably want to strive for around 6k ES as a baseline. These maps might be a little rippy. But we'll put her through and see how she does. Playstyle doesn't change. It's going to be a Pounce and Rend and Flame Breath for single target, with Shred carrying our combo point generation on bossing. Alright, so mapping time. We're going to do this T15. It is crit, attack speed, poison, a lot of monsters, so ignite on the ground, which is troublesome for us. So this is definitely a more challenging map. Playstyle is essentially the same. You're going to Pounce and Rend. You'll be rending more than you would in the high budget build because you don't have the same access to control over your Pounce duration without Catal's Rejuvenation. And Catal's is very expensive. But you're just going to rend everything It is important that you be aware of your energy shield. We have a good recovery of our energy shield, but only if we haven't been hit in the last 1 second. And so you can't just constantly leap everywhere and expect your energy shield to stay up. You do need to be a little bit more careful and cautious about what you're doing. Don't stand in ignited ground, for example, and expect your energy shield to recharge. As you can see, clear is phenomenal. We have more than enough damage to trigger our Herald chain, and we're able to get massive screen-wide clears with our Rend. We can stay pretty safe because Rend has such a huge AoE. You have to be a little bit careful of ranged mobs or particularly tanky mobs while we're playing around. We do not have Lavianias on here because I didn't really think we want to spend an investment on that. She will occasionally have to hit a mana flask because we're not running mana remnants here. But we don't really spend any mana while we're rending. All of our mana expenditures strictly comes from whenever we are pouncing. Another breach in here. A little bit more breach stuff there. Go. Just for comparison on budget stuff. 34 breach marks, about 1.5 div. So we paid for our build already in the first map that we did. Let's go and do the boss. Now bossing is a little bit different. You're going to shred first, and then pounce, and then flame breath. Now we are fairly tanky. You can take a hit or two, and you've got great damage. But don't just soak hits, because again, all of our recovery is based on this energy shield recharge delay. That was about 6 million health in a couple of seconds. Solid damage, great clear, good budget build. Now let's go ahead and take a look at how we've got everything set up. Alright, first things first, we already went over all of our items. We'll briefly go over these again so that you can understand what is important. Our Talisman has to have extra phys damage on it. Damage as extra physical damage is a very important line. Outside of that, you just want a lot of damage on your Talisman. Crown of Eyes is a requirement. Spirit, enough spirit to run the build between your body armor and your amulet. Amulet is carrying a lot of defenses, so make sure you do get a lot of ES on your amulet. Same thing, you want to get as much ES as you can on your body armor here. Gloves, we're looking for attack speed and a little bit of resistances and a lot of ES. You can also get a lot of damage out of your gloves if you get a high T1 prefix for damage to attacks on it. And our boots, we're looking for move speed, energy shield, resistances, and int. And then our ring just kind of fills in all the holes in the build and adds on damage from the prefixes here. On our skills, Rend, we're running Embitter, Bater's Vengeance, Minion Pack 2, Magnified Area 2, and Elemental Armament 2. On Shred, we're running Maim, Rapid Attacks 2, Practice Combo 2, Blazing Critical, and Crescendo 2. These are our two basic attacks. Rend is primarily responsible for your clear until you can scale up Pounce to do enough damage so that Pounce becomes your primary clear. When that happens, Rend primarily carries triggering Bater's Vengeance, which is 1% of your rage as damage per cold, and we have 69 rage, so that's 69% extra damage is cold. It's very important. Shred is primarily generating combo points for our Aelith's Chimes so that we can very quickly get a power charge to be able to Flame Breath a boss. Pounce, of course, carrying Brutus Brain, cooldown recovery 2, Culmination 2, and Aelith's Chimes. Flame Breath running Fire Pin 2, Rage Forge 2, Minion Pack 2, and Elemental Armament. Berserk with Mysticism 1 because we had extra spirit. Eternal Rage, and Herald of Ice with Armor Demolisher, Armor Explosion, Armor Break 3, and Elemental Armament. This is all designed so that when you freeze a target and they die, they explode, they damage everything around it. Whenever they explode, they have a chance to break armor for enemies around them because the explosion does physical damage, because our Talisman is extra physical as. Whenever that explosion breaks the armor of targets around them, those targets then explode. Whenever those targets explode, they can chill things around them because you have extra cold damage from Bater's Vengeance. Whenever those chilled targets die from the armor explosion, they trigger Herald of Ice, so on and so forth. Nice little chaining damage. Want to make sure that your Herald of Ice is at least 20k damage, ideally a lot more. You can see we're at 47k on the build, sitting still, and we're probably around 80k with Bater's Vengeance up and everything else active. So plenty of damage for chaining there. Now for our passive tree. The passive tree is a little bit different than the higher budget version because we cannot run the Tragedy Jewel. And the Verana Tragedy Jewel should be your second upgrade on the build. Your first upgrade on the build being getting more ES, getting enough spirit to run Mana Remnants, and being able to buy a Catal's Rejuvenation, which is about 2 divs for a Catal's Rejuvenation. The Catal's Rejuvenation will give you access to 50% additional cooldown recovery, allowing you to pounce more, and allowing us to not have to worry about hitting a stupid mana flash once every 10 seconds. And then more ES will give you more survivability. Once you've got all that together, you can move on to a Verana Tragedy Jewel, which will give you access to a lot of other tech that you can see in the high budget version of the build. But for now, we are focusing on armor and ES, especially because we want this faster start of energy shield recharge and increases and reductions to armor apply to energy shield recharge rate. Because energy shield recharge is our only source of recovery on this budget in the build, we put a lot of emphasis on that. Now you can avoid the belt, get your resistances elsewhere, and get the belt that lets you apply flasks to your energy shield recovery, and then use an instant flask. That becomes a second option, but that's a little bit tougher to put the gear together for, so we're keeping this simple. Outside of that, we are getting damage from Rage and Rage here, as well as Rage here, which gives us spell damage converted to attack damage. We have Strength spell damage converted to attack damage through powerful casting here. And so you can see all of this spell damage from these two nodes gets scaled into attack damage via Crown of Eyes. And then Berserk is scaling all of that Rage stuff all over again, along with just the base more attack damage from Rage. We have a lot of AoE set in here on weapon swaps. You can see we have a weapon swap here and a weapon swap here for AoE on Rend. We have increased area damage for our weapon swap 2 for Flame Breath. More Flame Breath scaling damage here as well. We have Tribal Fury down here, which allows our Rend to splash damage, giving us overlapping damage with Rend. And so that's very important on our weapon swap 1 here. And then more cooldown recovery and movement speed in our weapon swap 1 there, because we do want to move around more, as well as some more cooldown recovery on a weapon swap 1 up here. We're taking ES up here. Do note, Enhanced Barrier does convert your life before the Chaos Inoculation reduces it to 1. So you can see this energy shield that you're getting is real from Energy Barrier or Enhanced Barrier. We're taking more energy shield all along the tree that we can here. We are taking Pain Attunement, but we're getting neither the benefit nor the downside to it, because Chaos Inoculation counts us both as low and full life. And then we're using that to jump to these nodes over here, as well as these nodes here, which are all accuracy and elemental damage, energy shield recharge and rate and start, as well as increased skill effect duration here, which allows Bater's Vengeance to be up for longer. This minion duration is important because it gives us 2 more temporary minions. The 2 more temporary minions allow our Pounce Predator's Mark to scale with 9 wolves instead of 7, meaning that we get up to 9 times 4% damage instead of 7 times 4% damage. So that is also a very important one. On our passive tree, the only other things of note on here are You got a few extra points here in Frozen Claw. This helps to freeze things better. If you feel like you don't need this anymore, you can move these away to a more defensive node, but the skill speed and crit chance is very good. I know we're not focusing on crit on the build, but Forced Outcome is still a tremendous amount of damage for us. Our baseline Rend has a 10% chance to crit and 70% damage, so that is 7% more damage. Inevitable crits essentially mathematically doubles that. So we go from 7% more damage to 14% more damage from inevitable crits. There's not something better on the Ascendancy tree for us to choose, so we do take that for the increased damage. Lesser Harm is a phenomenal defensive node, and Unseen Path and Entwined Realities enable the build with all of these extra paths that we get and the ability to take nodes not connected to our tree near these keystone nodes on the tree. Ancestral Bond, of course, is a keystone node we use just to jump, so we don't need that for anything else. Outside of that, the tree is only minorly changed from the high budget version of the build. This will get you started. Run 3 breach tablets, farm splinters. You can farm probably 1,000 splinters an hour. It's a lot of currency. It's very easy. The build is very strong in breach content and is very fun to play. If you have any questions over anything, drop a comment down below. Come by YouTube. I will be releasing another video as a 100 div entry to the build so that you have something that you can aspire to outside of the high budget version that we've already released. Thank y'all very much. Y'all have a wonderful day. Peace.